That is, if she stays on a liquid diet.
By sending reels of tape to the library.
GE's famous filter flow washing system cleans.
From gadgets that promise to turn you into the perfect housewife to contraptions straight out of a sci-fi movie, the 50s had no shortage of head scratchers. In this video, we'll dive into a time capsule of peculiar inventions in the 1950s that will leave you laughing and gasping. So join us as we uncover the 20 most bizarre gadgets in the 1950s you won't believe existed. Let's talk about one of the quirkiest inventions in the 1950s, a brush made specifically for bald men. This was a real product aimed at a very niche group. The brush featured bristles for grooming the sideburn area, where many bald men still had hair.
We know it and have been trained in the longer hair, and because we know it and we're more capable, we feel we should be the ones to do it.
However, the standout feature was the felt pad right in the center, designed to massage the exposed scalp gently. The intention was to make baldness feel less like a loss and more like a styling opportunity. The invention was both functional and endearing, catering to the unique needs of those experiencing hair loss. Marketed to keep little hair in check while pampering the shiny dome, this brush reflected a playful approach to baldness at a time when societal attitudes toward hair loss were evolving.
Customize however you want it to look to, become who you want to be, essentially.
But the 1950s weren't just about quirky grooming tools. As the next invention proves, they were also a time when innovation met leisure in surprising ways. Imagine this. It's the sizzling summer of the 1950s, and you're lounging by the pool, ready to soak up some rays. But oh no, you forgot your suntan lotion. Enter one of the quirkiest innovations of the era.
And get sunburnt from the moon. Well, then you should try out our new suntan lotion. The sunburn side of the sun, dun dun.
A vending machine that dispenses suntan lotion for just a dime. Here's how it worked. You drop your coin into the machine, and for 30 glorious seconds, it would spray a fine mist of lotion all over you. This invention was part of a broader trend in the 50s of creating gadgets that added a touch of luxury to everyday life. It's hard to say if the lotion machines were wildly popular or just a fad, but they captured the spirit of the times. Optimistic, playful, and always looking for new ways to make life easier. Now, let's take a moment to appreciate one of the most whimsical and downright bizarre gadgets in the 1950s. A miniature chariot for snails. Yeah, you heard that right. Someone, somewhere decided that snails, with their glacial pace and slimy charm, needed their mode of transportation. So they came up with tiny, handcrafted chariots that could be attached to the shells of these slow-moving critters.
It's fantastic. It always is every year. The competitors get really excited about the racing. The snails, it's very good conditions for snail racing this year.
The idea? To turn your backyard into a snail racetrack. Kids would decorate their snails, hitch them to these miniature chariots, and then watch them race against each other. And by race, I mean slowly inching forward in what must have been the most suspense-filled competition ever. While it never became a mainstream hit, the snail chariot remains a delightful example of how inventors of the time weren't afraid to think outside the box, or in this case, the shell. From snail chariots to gravity-defying machines, the 1950s never lacked imagination. In the 1950s, Rolls-Royce, best known for its luxury cars, pioneered aviation innovation with an experimental machine called the flying bedstead.
Britain's first vertical takeoff machine, the flying bedstead, was tested recently at the Rolls-Royce flight establishment in Nottinghamshire.
This bizarre contraption was a cutting-edge test rig for vertical takeoff and landing technology. Unlike traditional aircraft, the flying bedstead didn't have wings or rotors. Instead, it relied on two powerful jet engines mounted horizontally to lift off straight from the ground. The engines pushed air downwards, creating enough thrust to make this quirky machine hover and maneuver mid-air. The nickname Flying Bedstead came from its appearance. It looked like a metal bed frame with pipes and jet engines sticking out. It wasn't pretty, but it was revolutionary.
And the pilot's controls are connected through electronic stabilizing circuits to 4 compressed air nozzles mounted on outrigger.
The flying bedstead laid the groundwork for what would later become the Harrier jump jet, one of the world's most famous vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. Imagine seeing something like this in the 1950s, hovering noisily above the ground. It must have looked like science fiction come to life. Imagine walking through the streets of 1950s London, only to find yourself engulfed in a thick, yellowish fog that wasn't just hard to see through, it was downright deadly.
White handkerchief was black and sulphur yellow all over, stained like you wouldn't believe.
This wasn't just fog, it was the infamous Great Smog of 1952, a catastrophic event caused by coal burning and stagnant weather conditions.
12,000 Londoners were killed over a single weekend of a toxic smog bag of epic proportions that enveloped much of the city on the morning of December the 5th, 1952.
Over just a few days, the smog claimed the lives of thousands and left the city in chaos. Inventors and entrepreneurs stepped in with an unusual solution: smog masks to combat this growing health crisis. These masks were designed to filter out the harmful soot and particles in the air, providing a lifeline for city dwellers desperate to breathe safely.
Looks rather uncomfortable, but actually it's very light and it's quite malleable, it's quite pliable, so the idea is that you would mold it around your face.
While some masks were basic cloth coverings, others were more elaborate, incorporating advanced filtration materials for the time. This was one of the early signs of humanity grappling with the consequences of unchecked industrialization, paving the way for modern air pollution controls and awareness. But while some inventions arose from dire necessity, others reflected a lighter, more whimsical side of innovation, where practicality met the pursuit of leisure in unexpected ways. Imagine relaxing on a lake, effortlessly floating on the water while sipping tea or flipping through your favorite magazine. That's exactly what the buoyant suit of the 1950s promised to do. Designed with an innovative approach to leisure, this suit was made to keep you perfectly balanced and upright in the water, almost as if you were sitting on an invisible chair beneath the surface.
Most people would just about drown, but they pop up like a quartet of quartz. Secrets in their bathing suits, made of new extremely buoyant material of 100% cotton.
The suit itself was a curious combination of practicality and whimsy. Constructed with buoyant materials, it wrapped snugly around the wearer, ensuring they wouldn't tip over or sink. The idea wasn't just about staying afloat, it was about adding a touch of elegance to water relaxation. You could enjoy your favorite drink, read a newspaper, or even have a light snack without the fear of getting soaked or drifting away. While this innovation didn't quite become mainstream, it remains a fascinating example of mid-century creativity. You're pedaling down a 1950s quiet street, feeling the wind in your hair. But this isn't an ordinary bike ride. Suddenly, with a little throttle, your bike lifts off the ground. Yeah, you're flying. Inventors in this era tried to make this dream a reality by creating flying bicycles. The concept was simple yet ambitious. A regular bicycle outfitted with wings and a motor, allowing the rider to soar through the air. The idea came when aviation captivated the world, and people were fascinated by the possibility of personal flight.
Living pattern outbound, heading for 180 degrees, over.
Clipper 100, you're cleared to taxi to runway 25 left, by taxiway Charlie and runway 13 left.
However, the execution was where things got tricky. These bikes required significant engineering to balance aerodynamics and propulsion. And safety was another story. While the flying bicycle never truly took off, pun intended, it paved the way for future innovations in personal flight technology. Modern concepts like hover bikes and drones owe a small dent to these quirky early attempts. This bizarre gadget, often called the automatic tip requester, was designed to streamline tipping in the quirkiest way possible. Here's how it worked. The contraption consisted of an artificial hand, a literal fake hand, attached to a small cash box. The hand would extend toward the guest, palm up, signaling it was ready to accept tips. Once a coin or bill was placed into the hand, it would cleverly drop it into the cash box below. The idea was to make the tipping process more efficient or less awkward. But let's be real, it probably left guests more amused or confused than anything else.
That's real.
You're joking, right?
No, man.
Seriously?
This device was a product of its time when people were fascinated by the potential of automation, even for simple tasks like tipping. While there's no evidence that these devices became widespread, They perfectly capture the whimsical creativity of the 1950s. As technology evolved, so did our desire for innovation in everyday life, ushering in an era in which even entertainment took on a whole new form. Televisions in the 1950s were more than just screens. They were statement pieces that redefined home entertainment. Encased in elaborate wooden cabinets, these devices blended functionality with aesthetics, often doubling as living room furniture. Despite their bulky design, the screens were modest, typically ranging from 10 to 21 inches, starkly contrasting today's sprawling flat screens. Black and white broadcasts dominated the airwaves, and owning a TV symbolized modernity and status.
Boxy TV set.
But honey, this
It
box...
ruins the whole room. Now, watch this. There's real magic for you. A TV set to match your furniture.
Families would gather around these glowing portals for everything from live news to variety shows like I Love Lucy and sports events, creating a shared cultural experience. The craftsmanship of these televisions mirrored mid-century design trends, featuring rich veneers and decorative detailing. With limited channels and scheduled programming, watching TV was an event that fostered patience and anticipation. This hand-operated meat mincer became a household essential in the 1950s, revolutionizing meal preparation at a time when electric appliances were a rarity. Designed for efficiency, it allowed families to grind meats and blend ingredients effortlessly, ensuring hearty homemade meals graced the table. This device was a lifeline in regions with unreliable or non-existent electricity, bridging the gap between tradition and innovation. Its sturdy build and simple mechanics made it both durable and dependable. The mincer was not just a tool, but a testament to resourcefulness, enabling creative cooking long before modern conveniences. As we embrace sleek automatic gadgets today, this meat mincer reminds us of a bygone era when practicality and ingenuity ruled the kitchen. Much like the meat mincer, another 1950s invention transformed daily life, though its impact was felt in an entirely different way. The wringer washing machines were a household staple of the 1950s, bridging the gap between manual labor and modern convenience.
Appears to me to be an older model 60s or early 70s wringer type washer.
Featuring two rollers, the wringer, these machines squeezed out excess water from freshly washed clothes, significantly cutting drying time. Electric versions introduced in the mid-20th century made the process easier but required hands-on effort. General Electric's innovative filter flow system kept the water clean, but the labor-intensive nature of these machines remained. For large families, they were indispensable, saving time compared to hand washing.
GE's famous filter flow washing system cleans and re-cleans wash water, and lint is caught in the filter.
Yet the physical demands, feeding clothes into the wringer and managing heavy water-soaked loads, made laundry day a true workout. By the 1960s, the rise of fully automatic washing machines spelled the end for wringer washers with their spin-dry cycles and hands-free operation. The 1950s was when radio was king, and people couldn't get enough of their favorite shows. Now, imagine you're out for a walk in the park or gardening and don't want to miss the latest news or hit song on the radio. What do? Well, if you lived in the 1950s, the solution was simple. Just wear a radio hat. Yeah, you heard that right. People wore hats with built-in radios. These weren't your ordinary hats either. We're talking about the pith helmet, a type of wide-brimmed hat originally designed for tropical climates. But in the 1950s, someone had the genius to turn this classic headwear into a portable radio. The hat had a small radio embedded, allowing the wearer to listen to broadcasts while they went about their day hands-free. In the 1950s, the mimeograph machine revolutionized small-scale publishing. Adorable and efficient, these machines cost just $50 to $100 at the time, making them accessible to individuals and small organizations. Unlike the cost and hassle of print shops, mimeographs let creators print their work. Operating a mimeograph was simple. Users would type or draw on a stencil, load it onto the drum, and crank multiple copies.
Gestetner was doing too big a job in India to leave India just because the British government left. Gestetner was making...
This process fueled the growth of independent publishing, enabling a surge in homemade poetry, books, newsletters, and zines. The device symbolized creativity and grassroots communication, paving the way for a vibrant DIY culture. Though replaced by photocopiers and digital printers, the mimeograph's role in making publishing accessible still inspires today. While the mimeograph transformed publishing, what innovation in the 1950s reshaped the world of sound? Let's find out. In the 1950s, the reel-to-reel tape recorder revolutionized audio recording and playback. Pioneering magnetic recording systems like the German-British Blattner phone in 1928 and the magnetophone machines of the 1930s laid the groundwork for this iconic format.
A dinosaur of radio, it was the forerunner to the modern tape recorder and was considered the latest in technology in the 1930s.
Initially unnamed, because it was the standard for all magnetic recorders, the reel-to-reel gained its title as compact cassettes and tape cartridges emerged. These innovations, such as the endless loop cartridge for radio ads in 1954 and RCA's full-size cassette in 1958, began to diversify the market. With its open spools of magnetic tape, the reel-to-reel offered unparalleled sound quality and became a staple for professionals and audiophiles. Its tactile charm and warm analog fidelity captured everything from studio sessions to cherished family memories.
Great excitement, and it's the type of thing that archives are all about.
Though eventually eclipsed by compact cassettes and digital formats, the reel-to-reel remains a symbol of audio's golden age, celebrated by enthusiasts and collectors alike for shaping modern sound recording. By the 1950s, cigarette lighters had become a standard car feature, offering both convenience and a touch of sophistication. Originating from 1880s patents and evolving alongside car electrical systems, these handy devices initially served one purpose: lighting cigarettes with a push of a button. However, their utility extended far beyond their smoky origins. Creative manufacturers soon realized the potential of the lighter socket as a power source for various gadgets. This sparked the invention of portable fans, coffee warmers, and even early mobile phone chargers, transforming the car interior into an innovation hub.
Get a cigarette lighter, car charger, and a cable. Make sure they're name brand, not some of those knockoffs. Not only will it charge your phone faster, it'll make the battery and the phone.
By the late 1990s, cigarette lighters began disappearing from vehicles as smoking declined and fire safety gained prominence. Today, the sockets remain a legacy feature, rebranded as 12-volt outlets, powering everything from GPS devices to portable refrigerators. What began as a tool for smokers has endured as a testament to automotive adaptability. In the sweltering heat of the 1950s, window-mounted air conditioners emerged as a beacon of relief for millions of households. These gadgets revolutionized home comfort, compact, efficient, and affordable, making summer days more bearable. Unlike bulky central systems, these units could be easily installed in a single window, precisely cooling individual rooms. This breakthrough brought fresh, chilled air and a marked cultural shift. People could finally escape the oppressive heat without leaving their homes, changing how they worked, relaxed, and slept.
Mechanical window air conditioner. This unit is compact and easy to install, perfect for small spaces such as bedrooms, guest rooms, and more. Let's get started.
These coolers made modern living possible in hotter regions, setting the stage for rapid urban development. Though later replaced by central air systems, window-mounted coolers hold a special place in history. They symbolize the ingenuity of mid-20th century design and remain an enduring testament to how small innovations can transform everyday life. As the 1950s ushered in innovations that transformed how we lived and moved, one idea dared to take the concept of visibility and style to a whole new level. Imagine cruising down the road, your car glowing like something from a sci-fi movie. Believe it or not, that idea almost became a reality in the 1950s with a strange invention: illuminated car tires. These were tires made from translucent rubber and designed to have lights inside, giving your car a glowing, futuristic look as it sped along the road.
Those glass tires we have, which we can't illuminate at this time, but we do roll on glass tires which light up just like a light bulb.
They do. They light up. Unfortunately, they don't show up on camera. The light doesn't show up.
The main idea behind these illuminated tires was to improve visibility, especially at night or in low light conditions. It was essentially a way to enhance road safety while making your car look cool. The concept was a mix of practicality and flair, combining technology with a touch of glam. Though it never became mainstream, the idea was ahead of its time and remains a fun reminder of how creative minds were back then. It was a part of an era when people thought cars were more than just a means of getting from point A to point B. They could be an experience. Now let's talk about one of the more curious gadgets from the 1950s, a device designed to make life easier for smokers by automatically dispensing cigarettes. This little contraption was made to hold a full pack of cigarettes, and with a push of a button, it would dispense one cigarette at a time, just like that. It was essentially a cigarette dispenser on demand.
Cigarette case from Cambrook, and smooth as silk. You show the ace of spades there in the cigarette case.
Imagine you're sitting back in your favorite armchair, enjoying a drink, and instead of fumbling through your pack of smokes, you press a button on this device and out comes a perfectly rolled cigarette ready to light. No more dealing with crumpled packs or struggling to pull out a single cigarette. This gadget took care of it for you. The idea might sound pretty strange today, but back then, it was in line with the culture of convenience that defined the 1950s. So, next time you're reaching for your pack, imagine what it might have been like to just press a button and have your cigarette delivered. In the chilly embrace of 1950s American winters, kerosene heaters were more than a convenience. They were a necessity. Fueled by kerosene, these portable devices transformed drafty homes into warm havens, especially in rural areas or during early frosty mornings.
They're basically a night light, so if you're using these, up north here where it gets dark at 5 o'clock this time of year.
A staple in households without central heating, they often took pride in their place in living rooms, radiating warmth and creating a gathering spot for families. However, with their heat came inherent risks. Without the safety features of modern heating systems, these heaters posed fire hazards and emitted fumes that could quickly turn comfort into calamity.
Now, the fire chief wants to remind folks to keep portable heaters like this one away from combustibles, 3 feet away, and not to leave them unattended.
Despite these dangers, they remained widely used, representing a time when practicality often outweighed safety concerns. Today, the kerosene heater is a nostalgic emblem of a resourceful era, reminding us of the strides made in home heating technology to ensure safety and comfort. This was one of the weirdest gadgets of the 1950s that'll have you scratching your head. It was a plastic collar with bristles on the inside, designed to scrub a child's neck while they played. In 1950, the Los Angeles Brush Corporation introduced this odd little invention at the suggestion of a mom who must have been sick of yelling, "Go wash your neck," every 5 minutes. The idea was simple. Slap this collar on your kid, and as they ran around, the brush would dry clean their neck. No soap, no water.
Grab her here. Why don't you shut it? Wait.
Just good old-fashioned bristles doing their thing. Of course, this wasn't exactly a hit with kids. Just ask poor Tim Gregory, a 5-year-old who became the unwilling poster child for the device. He was photographed wearing the brush under protest. Honestly, you could see the look of betrayal on his face. Thankfully, this invention didn't stay around long.